Hi all, this is the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. My name's Thomas Williams. Now, what we've got tonight is an explanation of certain things, and also it's in two parts, an explanation of who and what the trust is and where we're going forward. And so this is a special THI update show that regular listeners will have heard some minor aspects of during recent shows. But this show will tie it all together. We have worked long and hard to correct many ills of the world, none more so than Kim, and few would have taken on the task of attempting to take on a whole system, never mind one which was, and I will say was, of staggering proportions, all mired in a former control system so deeply ensconced that even all the information contained on the internet does not reveal anywhere near the full picture of what has happened here. THI listeners have been given a greater access and a better chance to grasp an understanding, and when you think you have a grasp, another deeper layer then reveals itself. I've said many times on the shows, it won't be a one-off light switch event, as is mentioned in various sites around the internet, but a succession of key events that will unfold when the time is right, and tonight we will announce one of those events. Kim has worked tirelessly with the team to provide a platform from which it is up to us to build upon, and I mean build and not destroy like the previous control structures have done. We have only developed 5% of this world, and yet the clowns with their fake wars have spent many hundreds, if not thousands of years destroying it and rebuilding the same 5%. It's sheer lunacy. We have to be different in our approach and actions going forward, or all this will be for nothing, and prove the cabal, the parents, the covens and the Draco right all along, that we are incapable of progression. So I say, let's unite across all divides and rebuild this Midgard Earth into the beacon of hope it was always planned to be. Think and act different is a meme of THI. It needs to be a meme for us all, where we all work together and create a caring, sharing planet, and not the competitive, dog-eat-dog world we have all endured. Their systems of control have in many parts collapsed. Further portions of it will quickly follow. And what will be left is a handful of complete psychopaths who quite possibly are soulless beings, devoid of compassion, devoid of empathy, and devoid of love, not only for others, but themselves. But we have to be ready to fill the shoes of the controllers and their puppets, and run this planet for and by the people, plus all the other living beings that also reside here, some of them native to this planet and some that are not. We are at last chance saloon in essence to prove we can change from a low vibrational children of the universe into a model fully evolved evolutionary wise adult species. The fight is not over. The fight has just begun. We have much work to do, all of us, to correct the 489 aspects of life that has gone badly wrong on this planet for so long. This time, I believe, we're going to get it right, but it requires the all to be involved. As the circle of life finally, circle of life. That's what it's all about. This is what we fight for. This is what THI and Kim and the team are all about. The circle of life. And life has been denigrated beyond all reasoning, really, for far too long. At least 16,500 years. And possibly as far back as 78,000 years. And even further, as covered in the recent Russia with Love shows, 110,000 years. It's not what history's told us, and we all know the lies that the cabal and the controllers have perpetuated on us our whole lives. But now the truth is coming out, and things are changing, and it's up to us, like I said, to take those changes and run with it and operate in a different and a better way. We cannot repeat the same mistakes that they've used. When you look at their system, they had all the resources, they had all the knowledge and all the control, and all of it was compartmentalized. But it still failed. Why? Because they, like the Ouroboros, they chewed from both ends. We can't be that way. We just can't be that way. We have to end the competition on this planet, the comparative mindset. Oil that is in North Dakota doesn't belong to Rockefellers or Rothschilds or some other bloodline family. It belongs to all living beings on the planet and should be shared accordingly. That's the goal for us all to set to go forward. So there's been a lot of questions about the trust, the Manor World Holding Trust, and all kinds of speculation. It's not this and it's not that. And yes, we're used to the trolls and the shills of the control system adding their own spanner into the works. But we also have people in the alternative media who bizarrely go to great lengths to prove the few people that are doing the right thing for and by them, and yet allow others who have no interest in humanity to get off scot-free. That imbalance is beyond stupid on our part, and we're going to correct it. So the trust, Manor World Holding Trust, is not a company. Therefore, it would not be registered at any corporate commission. One of the things that certain people doubted over it. It's like we had the issues, well, it hasn't got a website. Well, why should it? Clearly you don't understand what it is all about. Well, we're going to correct that tonight. The Manor World Holding Trust is not an American entity. It's a global entity. Now, back in 1930, the Bank for International Settlements, known as BIS, was formed and fully funded by the trust, who was controlled by the elites. Now, the trust was listed in these documents as unknown country, whereas all the other member nations were listed as the United Kingdom, France, etc., etc. Now, the Bank for International Settlements is the settlement institution for all central banks worldwide. And in 1946, the bank launched its proprietary software system. It doesn't sell this software, therefore it does not need to be licensed. So that's another misdirect that's been thrown at the Manor World Holding Trust. It doesn't need a license. Now, its license to operate, quote unquote, is a country code, quote unquote. Now, you may or may not be aware its location is in Basel, Switzerland, and looks much like a compound and is on its own sovereign ground, registered fully as a subsidiary organisation to the unknown country which is now known as Manor World Holding Trust. Now, many countries have their own national payment systems now. As you mention quite often, you hear about China has CIPS, CIPS, and also UnionPay. Fedwire is Oracle software. Central banks also have their own proprietary software and in most cases hardware systems as well. This is created by the country itself for its own use. There is no license required and it doesn't have any kind of registration. Oracle Systems created Fedwire as a CIA contractor and sold it to the Federal Reserve, a private company selling software to a government/bank, hence it required licensing. Every member bank, in this case only central banks, is issued a country code or an identifier number in the financial system. This is its registration. Now, the trust also has this same registration and also a UN registration. The UN then issues its member nations, suppliers and contractors these registration numbers. None of this can be found on any internet search. The trust was hidden from all of us for thousands of years. They don't put this stuff out on the internet. However, if you do have access to an intelligence agency system, LexisNexis, Interpol or some other, all of these registrations are on there. So is Kim's. It also doubles as a diplomatic channel for communications on a secure network which was created in the 1970s. This network is also not registered on a public site. As an example, what system does the CIA use? Chinese Secret Service? Russian SVR? Does anyone know? I can assure you these systems are not registered. The Trust's registration is fully registered with the Homeland Security for dollar usage worldwide, and it has its own clearance code, the right to hold allocation of dollars. The Trust holds this same registration with 173 nations for their currencies, respectively. The Trust also has its own clearance code for private banking institutions. The new system was approved and accepted as it relates to America under the Department of Homeland Security Safety and Security Act. It is also registered in other countries with their own agencies, respectively. No further permission or licensing is required as the Trust is not a company. For legal purposes, it is registered as a sovereign country with all the rights and privileges of any other. This is not a new designation. The Trust has held this status for many, many years. Lastly, for legal purposes and right-of-ways, the Trust owns, it allows the Trust to upgrade any of its properties. Nothing further to be said here. Now this goes into the pledges that the cabal and bloodlines and the families made of Washington DC, the Crown, the UN, you name it. It was all pledged to the trust and money was leveraged from it. So the trust owns all of it. And should it choose to upgrade those properties, they have the right to do so. Oops. Lastly, the name of the trust, Manor World Holding Trust, was created by Kim after the consolidation of all the trusts combined into one, which was 6,500, give or take. And Kim can rename it at any time and register it respectively. She personally chose the name Manor as it is recognised by all races and religions and is not offensive to any group, except the cabal. Kim can change the whole trust to be some other name and it has no bearing on its registration whatsoever. As to your request to use the existing quantum system, the new laser transfer system and a new bank server systems with a third party, that is not happening, period. So tough. You see, any of these third party system persons are all anonymous. Kim has no indication of a secondary quantum system currently operating within the banking sector, as she would have run into this extra system, the so-called Rothschild system, by now, as it would have had to have been integrated into the new quantum system. It doesn't exist. Of course, regular listeners to THI will remember that the Rothschilds were demanding $30 million for access to their non-existent system. Yeah. But the question to all the people who are still following the RV, despite Tank's intervention and giving them all the knowledge, is who are they? Who are the Chinese elders? Has anyone ever met them? You know, the population of China is somewhere around 1.3 billion people, and I would guess at least 25% plus would be considered elderly. What do we do? Just go and speak to roughly 300 million elderly people to find out whether these are the Chinese elders? No one knows who they are. So if these people, Chinese elders, etc., want to work with the new system, the system that Kim built, then they're going to have to call her. It's that simple. As these people are only named as alliance, elders, or white hats, etc., there are too many people to call, and my system is running fine without them. Although, of course, we will work with anyone as long as it is to the benefit of humanity. Now, do we know who some of these people are? Sure. As we said before, the ones that Kim knows have no interest in humanity. None whatsoever. But perhaps there are others who are open to it, and we welcome those people with open arms. Now, the one thing you should be able to see is SWIFT is no longer taking days to be received. Wires should be running more smoothly, as since last Monday, when the laser transfer system were implemented, you will start to see the changes. Laser systems require no changes, as all changes were made via the data cable networks at the port to each institution. I am not going to launch anything. I am launching and integrating these systems. The new system is very compatible with all software and will not cause disruption, as it has been integrating now piece by piece for the last fortnight or 2 weeks. Everyone is happy with the progress and have been complimented by governments on the upgrades, as the cabal has a habit of helping SWIFT and other wire transfers to go missing into clearance accounts, which have now been shut down permanently. Missing money was the cabal's speciality. Those days are coming to an abrupt end. We're going to have one music piece and then we're going to get into the gist of what has been taking place and what. Hi all and welcome back. Well, we've laid out who and what the Manor World Holding Trust is, and we're going to lay out what they have been involved in and what we can look forward to. Right. This was written by Kim of the Manor World Holding Trust, and it's going to lay out all the details of what's taken place and what's coming up. Now, many have spoken of a quantum system for the people, for and by the people, and she agrees it is. By definition, in parts of the world, most consider it an unknown. But a quantum system, true quantum system, this quantum system, can span dimensions. It draws from the past and the future yet to come. It is based on its ability to map through time. It reads brainwaves, knows intention, and is locked by DNA, living DNA, sequencing of the individual. Not one individual, but all of us. Your wealth within is coded to DNA of the individual. In the case of nations, it is the RNA of the original source of the said asset. It cannot go anywhere else. Now, this is for the security and the safety of our human family. The way it's been programmed, it is not possible for the elite to steal wealth from another person nor another nation any longer. The system does not recognize any royal line, only the line of source, which is present in all of us. We are all sons and daughters of the only true king, that is the creator, the God or source itself. Even herself, as she programmed the system, it is perpetuated to work with or without her. Trust me, it knows my intent too. It knows if I'm under duress or unwillingly making a transaction. So even if I change my mind and try to allocate funds improperly, the system will reject it. So much for the 9,000 or so snatch and grab attempts by the cabal on Kim and the team. It won't help one bit whether you've got hold of her or not. It reads into all organic life forms. It understands growth patterns, and lastly holds massive amounts of data in a compilation of materials the size of a grain of sand. This is technology not even the secret space program nor the Majestic 12 has or have ever had access to, let alone the current antiquated financial systems you are calling quantum. Gone are the days of data server centres the size of football fields. It calculates true trade values based on real production. Not what the elite wants the world to see, but real production. Asset-based production. As of Monday, tomorrow, the market revaluation shall begin to occur. The true production of commodities and their respective values will begin to unfold. This program was launched on Friday after business hours. Its power source is not electricity. It is not dependent on any grid or even crystals anymore. It is powered by the very source of life itself. Yes, the very source of energy that powers you, powers it. It can only operate in the light and rejects darkness and evil intent. Each particle of source courses through its fibre. Some of you may know it as the God particle, the fifth element, or the Higgs boson. Each particle is part of a whole. It connects to source itself. It connects to you. It connects to every living thing in this universe and all other universes. Each particle is a small part of the whole, like a tiny network computer on a mainframe. It easily passes through the time-space continuum. Think of the possibilities if you could access the secrets of the universe through one small particle. CERN had made attempts to isolate and access this type of technology. Where they failed, we succeeded. The system has been running on full source energy for the past 6 weeks. At the point of convergence of the two torus currently flowing through this planet is an incredible amount of source energy. It's limitless and constantly regenerating. The same technology will power the global train. This works, and it's been proven to work, and a prototype has already been built and tested and ready to roll out. It knows no space. It knows no time. It only knows intention. It is not source and was not built to replace source in any way. It is currently harnessing and sharing this source energy with all of you until the original flower of life torus pattern can be restored, which is essential for all of our survival. Going forward, we will also have a far better way to travel. No need for unpentium or other elements that are harmful to humans. This is the beginning of free energy. It works. Tesla knew, and we know it too. Millions of people die every year over oil and gas. This genocide must and will stop. Has anyone noticed the price of food going up over the last month? It has gone up by 20 to 30%. Why? because the cabal controlled CNN fake media reports, oil shortages, and the Middle East will run out of oil, and so the gas prices go up, then the transportation costs go up, and so does the cost of food. This will no longer be the case. It is not possible to have a shortage of oil because it is a regenerating resource. And we have not even begun to tap into the resources of Russia, America, or many other nations yet. Sometimes it's better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. No one needs the cabal oil anymore. The truth is, we didn't need it over 100 years ago. But oil will become worthless within the next couple of years. To summarise, a quantum system that has the capacity to map information sources throughout the multiverse. It is powered by a limitless energy source, holds a football field worth of data sourcing servers. Hello, Five Eyes, yes you can Google this one, in a substance the size of a grain of sand. It accounts for an intent via a hyper-permeable brainwave component and identifies the individual via DNA, living DNA, and the origin of assets from RNA stroke GNA. For those of you who regularly listen to THI, you will know where the GNA came from. You see, money is just a bunch of numbers in a consistently running algorithm tied to the RNA or origin of its asset base, placing all proceeds into that bucket tied to its origin, RNA, and its people, living DNA of that original location. This is what it is programmed to do. It cannot be stopped. It cannot be changed until the task is completed. This is why the Fed, the families, the cabal, the Chinese elders cannot register said assets of the America, Russia, Africa to a server in, say, Shanghai. And yes, we saw you attempting to do that last night, and yet again, it failed. See, your RNA is not a match, pure and simple. And this system also saves Kim a lot of time in constantly identifying access points. I hope this explains the new system, which has been launched. Not going to be, not soon, not imminent, not 2 weeks, but is completed and launched. One of the tasks of the system was mapping everyone, and now that it's mapped all living beings on this big rock, distribution shall begin. It is impossible to steal funds anymore, even though the corrupt bankers may choose to try and steal from you, the people, like they have for many, many years. Well, now they can't. The new system will look for the living DNA of person X, consent through a hyperpermeable component, and if it's not there, nothing will move. No transaction will take place. So there you have it. A message to all the cabal stooges reading or listening to this. I'm not addressing any of you in IDC, for the record. You can take your oil, siphons, satellite diversions, and stick them where the source doesn't shine. Peace out. Kim Possible. I hope you all absorbed all that. It's a groundbreaking change for humanity. We will be given an opportunity, like I said at the beginning, to go forward in a better way. The chance of them controlling again is gone. Can they still play games? That's pretty much all they've got left. Can they still make threats? Yes, they make plenty of them. But it won't change the final outcome. But we all have an obligation to stand up for the whole of humanity and all living beings on this planet. Like I said earlier, some are native and some are not. We have an obligation to strive to be the best we can be. They think we're going to fail. They didn't think we'd get this far. They thought wrong. They underestimated the power and the will and the resourcefulness and creativeness of humanity and the spirits contained within it. Just because they can't perceive light and a fair way of operating doesn't mean to say it doesn't exist. I hope humanity takes the bull by the horns and goes forward with what is, at this point, an opportunity. That's all it is. It's up to each and every one of you to turn that opportunity into something that this planet was meant to be all along. A beacon of hope. The nexus planet of how things should be. An ultimate teaching school. And yet we've all been criminally denied knowledge. Going forward, that won't be the case. We will not have that excuse. There will be no interference from off-world or on it. And it all comes down to your own personal responsibility. You often hear people on the internet arguing over whether we should have common law or natural law or this law. A species operating under personal responsibility requires no laws. Laws are only there for the ones who don't act within personal responsibility. And yes, people get involved in crime all around the world for various reasons. Some because they have no option. Going forward, everyone will have options. The Trust's goal to me is to make sure the whole planet, and not just Western nations, the whole planet has everything in abundance where the basic needs of life are required. Clean food, not the GMO rubbish that they've been giving us. Clean water, not fluoridated. Clean air, not chemtrailed. homes to live in, not foreclosed on or stolen. And clean, source-based energy. That doesn't require poking holes into the planetary being. We didn't need that technology back in 1907. Here we are, 2018, 111 years later, operating on the same old technology. That's what these psychopaths have done. Regressed us in time. People will argue we've advanced so much technologically. No, we haven't. We've gone backwards. Because if you think this technology is new, it's not. It's just not. It's all the past. And they knew. We didn't. Now we're finding out. But we have to be responsible with the technology. Because most technology is not really that good for us. We have more technology, advanced technology, contained within the vessel than any machine could ever do. It's called junk DNA. It's not junk. And the people who make it themselves personally responsible to evolve themselves on a higher level, on a better level, can access those technologies. It's called abilities, be it telepathy, changing matter, walking through walls. It wasn't just the being known as Jesus, or should I say Radomir, real name. We all have it. We've just forgotten. Well, it's time we remember. And hopefully we all go forward as one. We are one. We're not defined by countries, by colour, by gender, by sexuality, by religions. We just are. They're labels to divide and conquer. They always were. A divided people continues the same system. A united people will drive us forward into the species we were always meant to be. The most creative species ever produced in this universe. Don't let us down. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. I'll be back with the normal show on Thursday. Message to the cabal, bloodline families, Rothschilds. You can't touch this. Bye for now.